Let's come back to the business of agriculture, where smallholder farmers are among the most disadvantaged within the agriculture value chain in Africa, and Nigeria is not an exception, even with certain peculiarities of the country, by the way. The good news, however, is that some private sector institutions are providing solutions to some of the smallholder farmers' issues, such as supply lines. Alluvial Agriculture is one of the innovative providers in the Nigeria's agric space, and the co-founder and managing director of Alluvial Agriculture, Dimeari Von Kemedi, is joining me now on the show. Von, good evening. Welcome to the program. It's good to see you here.
Good evening. Thank you very much. Good to see you.
Thank you so much for your time this evening. Give us some insight into what Alluvial's agriculture's intervention support to smallholder farmers is achieving in Nigeria.
As you know, we recently signed an agreement with MasterCard Foundation to support 65,000 farmers in some specific states in the country with mechanization input, digital extension services, and market access. We have already started with almost 1,500 farmers, sesame farmers in Nasarawa, Niger, and Benue and Plateau states, and we are currently preparing for dry season farming in Niger, Kano, and Benue states as well. So overall, by the end of this year, we should have done 15,000 hectares, working 15,000 farmers. Majority of them women, at least 80%. And then next year will be the big one when we work with a lot more farmers. But what is critical about this intervention also is that it's a catalyst for bringing in private sector investment to support the farmers post-MasterCard intervention. And in this regard, we're already making some significant progress with Fidelity Bank, FCMB, Stanbic, IBTC, and Union Bank. And a couple of them are still speaking with us. And we are looking at a scenario whereby at the end of the MasterCard intervention, we're going to also bring in another private sector player to provide some cover, some guarantee to make it easier for the banks to support the smallholder farmers.
Very interesting. But from your experience, how tough are the impact of COVID-19, flooding, and drought? How tough have they been for Nigerian farmers in 2020, in particular the smallholder farmers?
This year, I think, has been a very difficult year for smallholder farmers across the country. This is reflected in the price of food today in the market. It's reflected in the high cost of paddy. Last year, farmers were selling paddy for between 100 and 110,000 per ton. Today, it's north of 200,000 per ton. So that's almost 100% increase. And this is further reflected in the consumer price index. So it's not a very easy year for the farmers. First of all, it was the impact of COVID. And then thereafter, there were floods in places like Kebbi. Kebbi is one of the biggest producers of rice in the country, and they lost a lot to flood. And then there were other states in the country that also suffered from prolonged drought, so in some places more than 6 weeks. So this is the reason why we are finding a very high price of food in the market today. But I think there are lots of private sector and government responses to this situation, and hopefully the country should recover by next year.
Are you seeing any positive impact of what the government is doing in the agriculture sector, perhaps the Central Bank Anchors Borrowers Program, the NASAL's interventions, and other such initiatives?
Absolutely. If not for the intervention of the central bank, I think the situation would have been worse than what we find today. Of course, in spite of that intervention, the impact of COVID and drought and flood dampened the situation. But what the central bank now needs to do is to double up and invest more in dry season farming, more than ever before. In fact, I was in Niger State about 2 weeks ago, and it was interesting that even though many organizations talk about climate resilience and climate smart agriculture, I can tell you that these farmers in our respective villages are ahead of us. And they were already telling me that if they had their way, they would not plant in the rainy season. They will only plant in the dry season where they control the amount of water that is available. They are not affected by drought and they are not affected by flooding. And I thought that was smart thinking. Nigeria needs to invest more in dry season farming because moreover, the yields are better at that time.
So when we talk about financing and other support that you are getting at alluvial agriculture from within and outside Nigeria, aside MasterCard, what about trade? We need to do a whole lot more. Are you looking at other institutions to work with at alluvial?
Definitely, we are looking at other institutions to work with. Even within the current project, we are partnering with so many different institutions. Part of our strength is our capacity to work with others. We don't believe in working just by ourselves. So we provide the ecosystem for those who know what to do to come together with the farmers to make a difference.
Okay, perhaps in the area of payment for these farmers, they are in remote villages and towns and all of that. How are you dealing with the payment system and all of that?
We are currently working with MasterCard Farmers Network. So this is different from MasterCard Foundation, MasterCard Farmers Network, and MasterCard itself on a digital payment solution that will help the farmers access their payments in a relatively short time. Right now, farmers have to drop their produce in various warehouses, and then they will have to wait for a couple of days before they get paid. For those who don't have accounts, they have to be paid by somebody in the middle. So you pay to someone and then that person pays to the farmers. But with this payment system that we are developing in collaboration with MasterCard Farmers Network and MasterCard itself, it will help farmers access their funds in actually almost in real time.
Quick one.
We're also developing with the International Center for Tropical Agriculture, a digital extension system that will provide critical information to over 1 million farmers across the country. So in this case, it's not the complete direct intervention, including mechanization and seeds, but this is just to provide weather information, soil information, and critical market intelligence to improve the practice of farming.
Von, in just 30 seconds, can you tell me how Nigeria can deal decisively with post-harvest loss?
I think that if once we are able to improve the value chain, the linkages between processors, aggregators, and farmers, we will be drastically improving post-harvest losses. I know that there's been a lot of discussion around more technical issues like mechanization of harvest, post-harvest processing before taking the produce to the processors. Some have also suggested more processing closer to the farms before then getting to the more central processing.
Dimeari, let's leave it there for today. Thank you so much. That's a very bigger conversation. I'm sure you understand. Thank you so much.